Everybody for joining me this morning. So anybody that doesn't know me that well, my name's Emma Quinn. I'm a life coach and interior designer, and I started running these workshops just kind of as a way of sharing some of my knowledge and experience with others in the hopes it'll help some of you on your personal development journey. So I'm going to start by talking about my money mindset story. So I just wanted to start by giving you the definition of money mindset, if anyone's unfamiliar with what the term actually means. So your money mindset is basically your unique set of beliefs and your attitude towards money. So it drives the decisions you make about saving, spending and handling money. So why did I decide to do a workshop on this? Financial struggles. So I work with coaching clients on a one-on-one basis. And recently I've sort of noticed that financial struggle seems to be a big issue for a lot of my clients. And, I think it can be a great source of stress and anxiety for all of us, at some point. So over the past year, I have done so much work on my own money mindset, and I've read a ton of books. I've done several courses. I've attended several different events on the subject. And the thing about me is, I actually apply all these things that I learned. It's kind of like a bit of an obsession for me. So I'm kind of like the guinea pig for all the stuff that I'm learning. I'm applying it to my own life and, testing it out and seeing how it works. So from applying all these lessons that I've learned and working on my own money mindset, I've been able to double my income in the last 3 months. And I'm on track to double it again by the end of the year. So by the end of 2022, I'll be earning 4 times what I was earning at the end of 2021. So I'll let you know how I get on with that. You can hold me accountable. So keep in mind here that I haven't studied any kind of financial planning or investing or anything like that. Everything I've done here, I was able to do as a direct result of this money mindset work that I've done and that I continue to do every day. So I just sort of wanted to share with you how I was able to do this and some of the tools I picked up along the way, so you can try it for yourselves if you want. So in today's workshop, we're going to discuss some strategies and tips for cultivating a positive belief system really around money. And that's going to support you in creating and maintaining the level of wealth you desire in your life. So, sorry, by the way, I have a little bit of a cough. I've had it for a couple of weeks, but apparently it's not COVID because I keep testing negative, but just in case I'm coughing, I apologise. So how can cultivating a positive money mindset empower us? So it's going to enable you to create freedom and independence in your personal and work life. Release any fears that have been holding you back from increasing your income. Recognize your true worth and ask for that raise in work or increase your prices if you own a business. Contribute to charitable causes on a larger scale. Reduce financial stress and anxiety. Model a positive relationship with money to your kids, family and friends. And also just empower your community financially by sharing your knowledge. So I have a question for you all. What would you do if you were a multi-millionaire? And I deliberately say multi-millionaire and not millionaire, and I'll tell you why. So I love this question because it really forces us to think big. So I want you to sit down after the workshop or in your own free time with your workbook and just write down, what would you actually spend your money on if you were a multi-millionaire, if you had all this money in the bank, and what would that mean to you? So it may seem like, a kind of a silly exercise or unrealistic or whatever, but the point of this is it's going to uncover some of your true values and what's really important to you. So you might think if you had all this money, you would want a big house or a fancy car or clothes. And there's nothing wrong with that at all, but that's one level of wealth. But what else do you want? So maybe there's a deeper issue or a cause that you really care about. So just think about how money can enable you to create positive change in the world, by using it to help with an issue that's really close to your heart. So you might laugh at this, but I'm kind of known for having outrageous goals. I just think the bigger your goal, the better, because even if you only achieve a fraction of it, it's still better than you would have done had you set yourself a really small goal. So one of my goals is to become a multi-millionaire by age 40. because I realized, now I used to have a goal to be a millionaire, but I realized that that isn't going to be enough for me to create the kind of change that I want to see in the world. And so I've just realized I need to be striving for more for myself. So why do I want to become a multimillionaire? So there's two big problems in the world that I see that are really close to my heart, and I have two big ideas on how I can solve them, but they're both going to take like a lot of funding. Hello. So the first idea is, so I maybe give you a bit of background on this. So I had mentioned in some of my previous workshops that after my daughter Mia was born 2 years ago, I experienced birth trauma and anxiety, and just like had a really sort of tough time sort of the year after she was born. And I think a lot of this was a result of the environment, the hospital that I was in. So as you know, I'm an interior designer, and for me, my environment has a massive impact on, how I feel and my well-being and all that. So my first idea is, like, this is obviously an issue close to my heart. I've spoken to a lot of women that went through similar experiences to me. And my first thing is I want to work with the NHS to redesign maternity units to look like, this might sound a bit out there, but I want them to look and feel like really nice hotels, so that women can birth in comfort without the stress that like a highly clinical environment can create. So there are already private birthing centres like this, but more so like over in England and America and maybe Australia, Callie, I'm not too sure. But the statistics show that there are much lower rates of caesarean or other medical interventions needed in places like this. Birth trauma rates are also much lower in these places than traditional NHS hospitals. So while this idea will cost a lot of money, it's going to save the healthcare system a lot of money in the long run, I believe. So I'm currently working on a huge healthcare design project at the minute. So this is something that I can actually see happening down the line for me, but it's going to take money. So that's my first goal. And I'm just sharing these with you. I know these aren't directly related to, probably what your goals are, but it's just to show you the level of, goals that I'm setting for myself, and, just trying to encourage you to do the same. So my second goal is to get positive psychology onto the curriculum for primary and secondary schools. So I really believe this would completely transform like generations to come by giving them the knowledge and tools to better themselves through developing like a positive and resilient mindset from an early age. It would teach young people how to cope with adversity and alleviate stress, anxiety and depression, which I'm sure you know is at an all-time high at the minute. Again, this would save the healthcare system a lot of money. So I know these two projects are going to require a lot of campaigning and time. So the more money I can make for myself over the coming years, the more financially secure I'm going to be, and I'll be in a better position to take the time to work on these issues. So that's just kind of a bit about my motivations for wanting to become a multimillionaire. It might sound a bit outlandish at first, but when you break it down, it kind of makes sense, So another little thing, I haven't actually written about this in my notes, but I thought I would tell you about it. So I just last week hired a girl from Ukraine. She's just moved here because of the war, obviously. And she's an amazing designer, and she got in touch with me, said that she, needed to start working immediately, because she, her finances weren't great. And she needed a place to stay. She needed a permanent address to get her healthcare number and all that set up. So because my interior design business, has really sort of taken off, and I am, as I said, I have doubled my income in the last 3 months. I was in a position then to be able to offer her employment and somewhere to live. So like if that had happened 3 months ago, I couldn't have done that, so it just shows you. And like this girl, she's amazing, and she's so, she's so grateful, and I just think she's going to be such a great, addition to my team, and we're going to work like really well together. And, so it just shows you, if like, I literally would not have been able to do that if I didn't have the money in place, beforehand. So it just shows you like how much good can come from money. It's not, it's not this like, I think a lot of people have like a, maybe like a the wrong perception of money, that it creates like evil in the world or something like that. But that's just an example of how I was able to use money in a really positive way. So I've sort of told you my reasons for wanting to become a multimillionaire. So maybe you don't, maybe this isn't a goal for you, but just whatever your money goal is, like what is your reason behind it? I just want you to think about that. So even if you don't aspire to that level of wealth, it's still a really worthwhile exercise, because it's really going to get you thinking about your motivations around money. So just take some time to think about that and plan it out in your workbook whenever the workshop's over. So what is holding us back? So we've all heard the saying that money can't buy happiness. And while I agree with this to an extent, I also know that poverty can't buy happiness either. So a 2010 study suggested that happiness levels plateaued somewhere around the 75,000 mark salary, which is about 57,000 sterling. But a 2021 study from the University of Pennsylvania showed that happiness does actually increase the higher your earnings, and there's no cap on this. So, excuse me. So of course there's going to be billionaires who are like really unhappy or depressed, but the study showed that on average happiness levels do continue to increase the more money you make. So the reason for this is that having more money, it just increases the flexibility and choice in your life, and it allows autonomy over your time. It improves your well-being. And just think about all the celebrities, who have personal trainers, nutritionists, life coaches, therapists, and help around the house. All of this could drastically improve your well-being, but it all costs money. So I think it's the thought that money can't buy you happiness that is holding so many of us back, because we feel like maybe, we're being greedy or shallow for wanting more money in our lives. But I think the reality is, like, money enables us to drastically improve the quality of our lives if we use it in the right way. So being wealthy doesn't mean you have to live in a mansion or drive a Ferrari. It might mean like being able to afford more childcare, so you have time to go to the gym and improve your health, so you can be the best version of yourself when you are around your children. It might mean being able to start a business you have been thinking about for years that could provide a valuable service to your community. It might mean never having to worry about paying your bills on time and give you just that peace of mind. And it might mean, being able to take your whole family and parents on holidays without worrying about the cost. So just, that'll be different for everyone, but as you can see, like, money can really enhance your life in so many different ways. So Albert Einstein said, "You can't expect to solve your problems with the same thinking you used to create them." So I love this quote, because although it may feel like he's placing the blame on us, for creating our own problems, I think what he's actually doing is empowering us. So he's showing us that we are always the ones who are in control of our own lives, and we have the power to change things through our thinking. So just talking about that, this might be like a new concept for you, but I wanted to talk about money blocks. So money blocks are any beliefs we have around money, either consciously or unconsciously, that are holding us back. So think about the messaging around money that we grew up with, and the negative connotations around wanting more money, and the idea that wealthy people are corrupt, greedy, or evil. This has kind of brainwashed us, I think, into feeling like wanting more money is somehow like a bad thing, or that having more money is going to turn us into a bad person. So like, think about some of the films and TV shows, even you grew up watching, like how wealthy women were depicted in them, even the likes of, Cruella de Vil, or Regina George in Mean Girls, if any of you have seen it, or Miranda Priestly in The Devil Wears Prada. So then you have like reality shows like The Real Housewives and Selling Sunset, if any of you's watched them. So the message in all of these is kind of the same. It's that rich women are bitches. So I think without realising it, we have been conditioned to believe that being wealthy will make us a bad person. Whether, we sort of realise this consciously or not. But the fact is, money doesn't do this. Money just amplifies your existing traits. So if you're a broke asshole, you're probably going to be a rich asshole, to be fair. Whereas if you are like an inherently kind, loving, and generous person, money is only going to magnify this. So what if we just decided that today we are going to consciously change the way we think, speak, and act around money? And like, what kind of positive impact could that have on our lives if we did that? So identify any money blocks that you might have, and make a list of anything you can think of, that might be holding you back. So then one by one, go through this list and write down any evidence you can find to disprove these beliefs. So I guarantee you there's going to be several examples you can find, to disprove these beliefs. So once you've done this, then I want you to create like a more positive affirmation around money and write that down and just say it to yourself every day. It doesn't have to be anything, really outlandish. It can be something that, it doesn't have to be, I am a multimillionaire. It could be, I am creating more wealth in my life, or, it can be something believable for you, and say that to yourself every day. And eventually you're going to start reprogramming your brain for wealth, and your mind is going to start scanning your environment for opportunities to bring that wealth, into your life. So moving on from that, I want to talk about language. So the language we use around money. So what is the first thing that comes to mind when you think about money, like right now, like in our current situation, our current economy? If I had to guess, it would be the price of things is going up. In my work as an interior designer, I hear this phrase from the people I work with, like suppliers, workmen, like just, all the different people I work with every day, like at least about 20 times a day. And to be honest, it drives me insane, because like, are the price of materials and oil and other things increasing? Yes, they are. But do you know what's causing them to increase? It's people talking about them increasing. So I'll explain this to you. So do you know what actually determines the economy? So it's not politicians, it's not the banks, it's not any other external factors. It's actually the way we think, speak, and act as a collective around money that determines the economy. So if every person you meet is talking about another recession coming, and like, how many times have you heard that? I hear that every day from people. Oh, there's another recession, it can't keep going like this, it can't keep going. Like, this just brainwashes you then into thinking the same, and then feeling really fearful of losing your money. So then as a result of that, you lose confidence as a consumer and you stop spending. So the problem is then when everyone stops spending, a fucking recession hits. So you can see why it's quite literally a self-fulfilling prophecy, and why it makes me so mad that people continue talking like this. They're literally like willing this to happen. It's crazy. Like, so I know that might sound a wee bit like out there or a bit like oversimplified, but like, I think as well it's empowering to know that we can play even a small part in shaping the economy merely through our thoughts and words. So my advice to you would be to stop engaging with scaremongers who like to put the fear of God in people, and talking about another recession and things like that coming, and just get on with better in your own life and creating the wealth that you desire. It doesn't matter what everyone else is doing or saying. Don't get distracted. Just focus on you and keep your eye on the prize. So I'm just going to take a wee sip of water here. So I wanted to talk about then aligning your actions with your words. So once we've, figured out the whole language issue, and we're talking more positively about money. How can we align your actions then with the way you're speaking? So I used to do all my grocery shopping in Lidl, and for years, like, I went there once a week religiously. But what ended up happening was I was going there because of, the prices, like I was getting bargains there, so I thought like I was saving all this money. But then, sorry, I don't know if any of you feel the same way, but for me, like Lidl, you're quite limited with the stuff you can get in it. And some of them other, like Aldi and shops like that, are kind of the same. Like, yes, you get really good deals and bargains and stuff, but for me, I was having to then go to like Home Bargains to go and get all of my toiletries and cleaning products, because I couldn't get the one, and like nappies and things that I couldn't get bright ones in Lidl. Then I was having to go to the chemist, for if my daughter needed like Calpol or Bungela, or if I needed, paracetamol, or if there was any other wee things that I couldn't get in Lidl, I'd have to go to the chemist. I would also have to go to the off license to get like nice wine or like beer for my husband, because Lidl doesn't have the best like drink section. And then I would have to go to Spar, or like the local shop for like things like nice biscuits, because you're sort of limited again with things in Lidl. Nothing against Lidl, it's brilliant, I love it, but I'm just saying, like, I thought this was a great idea because I was saving money, but then the reality was it was taking me like a good 4 hours, probably a week, to go around all these different places, and driving to them, driving home, like unpacking all your groceries and all that. It was taking like 4 hours. So when I sort of thought about it like this, I was like, is my time, like really worth this, or could I be doing something better with those 4 hours? So what I decided to do about a year ago was I set up a Tesco delivery. So Tesco, I realized, okay, it's a bit more expensive than Lidl, but you can get everything in one place. It's like your one-stop shop. This isn't an ad for Tesco, by the way, like I'm just giving you an example. But so it takes me about 30 minutes to do my online shop every week. I place my order, it's $4.50 for the delivery, but it arrives to my door every Monday morning. So I have all my groceries, everything from one place, and I have like my home like is fully stocked then for the week, and I don't have to think about going to any of these other places. And even if I'm out for a walk or something, like the Tesco delivery driver will leave the crates in my shed and I just like return them the following week. So it's so handy. It's just like the best decision I've made. So the reason I'm talking about that is, if I had have continued what I was doing before and, going around town looking for bargains and shopping in all these different places and spending 4 hours a week to do that. But if I had kept saying to myself, I'm a multimillionaire, all these affirmations, it wouldn't have lined up. I would have been sending out the wrong message, if you know what I mean. And I wouldn't have really believed that because my actions didn't reflect that. Whereas now I feel like they do more, because I feel like I'm valuing my time more than spending all this time doing that. So just like think about that in your own life. Maybe also another place I used to shop in a lot was Penneys, for the same reason. Like, Penneys is great, but for the same reason, I used to think like, oh, it's brilliant, I'm getting such bargains. But like, when you're going there once a month, and if you're anything like me, you just spot all these bargains and you're like, oh, I have to fill my basket, and then you end up spending like £100 or something. You're not really saving money. It's like you think you are because you're getting bargains, but you're probably shopping more than you normally would, or you're buying things that you don't really need. So just think about that in your own life. And again, I'm not dissing places like that. It's just to think about your shopping habits, and do they really align with the wealthy woman that you want to be. Yeah, so I was just going to say, like, it doesn't even need to cost you any more money. Like, I'm not saying you automatically have to go out and start shopping at really like high-end shops or whatever. But like me, like, instead of going to Penneys every month and spending £100, I now like only shop like maybe a couple of times a year, but I shop in like, for higher quality clothes, but I don't buy as much. So I'm probably actually saving more money. So, and it's saving me so much time as well. So same thing applies, like for constantly looking for discounts or coupons or spending a lot of your time and energy and things like this. Okay, it might save you a bit of money, but it's costing you a lot of time that you could be using for other things to like generate more money. So yeah, I would just recommend to sort of try, if you can, to like stop engaging in activities or experiences that are making you feel broke. So I wanted to talk about lessons from the Americans. So I lived in San Francisco for a couple of years when I was younger, and so this is kind of the inspiration for this little topic. So I think we as Irish people, like, we're very private and reserved when it comes to talking about our money. We think it's like crude or inappropriate, to discuss our finances or how much money we make. So is it any wonder then that so many of us struggle with financial issues if no one wants to talk about it? So in any other area of life, if we have a problem, it always helps when we share it with others and then, to take action to solve that problem. So why then is there so much animosity around money? Amanda Frances, who is a money mindset mentor, in her book talks about how money has been shrouded in fear, secrecy, and anxiety for far too long. So I think it's really time for a change. So living in America really opened my eyes to how different the money mindset of Americans is compared to the Irish. So Americans are just like more comfortable talking about money. They don't feel embarrassed talking about it. Their salary or financial goals for the future. They speak confidently about money and they don't feel guilty for pursuing wealth. So obviously, I'm generalizing here, but this was the case for most of the Americans I met. And I just think like many of us have been made to feel bad, for striving for more money in our lives. We've been conditioned by society to view rich people, as I said before, as greedy, corrupt, or evil. And while there certainly are rich people who do possess these traits, it doesn't mean that all of them are like this. And in fact, the majority of wealthy people that I know are really kind and generous and heavily involved in bettering their communities, and their wealth enables to do this on a large scale. So I just thought that was like an interesting point to consider. Sorry, everybody, I'm just going to take some more water. So next thing I wanted to talk about is decisions. So I want you to just think about this for a second. So what kind of decisions are you making every day? Are you making poor decisions? Or are you making rich decisions? So what do I mean by this? So you mightn't realize this, but every single decision you make each day, it's even like the tiny ones that may seem insignificant, they're all casting a vote for the type of person you want to be. So the decisions you make determine how wealthy or broke you're going to be. So I'm going to give you a few examples here, and these aren't going to apply to everyone. They're just some examples that I sort of like came up with in my own life, but it'll give you an idea of the type of decisions I'm talking about. So a poor decision would be spending your entire weekend cleaning and doing laundry. A rich decision would be hiring a cleaner for 2 hours a week to free up that time for you to work on your business. A poor decision would be spending your whole Saturday driving to the outlets and scouring the sale racks for the best deals. A rich decision would be doing without or ordering maybe one item of clothing that you do actually need online and spending the rest of your Saturday working on your wealth creating activities. A poor decision would be spending 2 hours every evening prepping and cooking dinner and cleaning up. A rich decision would be getting a meal delivery service for your whole family to free up those 2 hours so you can go to a Pilates class, which is going to boost your energy, allowing you to be in peak physical and mental state for making smart business decisions. Again, these won't apply to everyone. If you love cooking, I'm not saying you need to stop cooking. They're just ideas for, ways, and, you can maybe bring this into your own life. A poor decision might be spending 8 hours a week driving your kids around for after school or weekend activities, which I know a lot of you that's an issue you struggle with. A rich decision would be hiring a nanny to take the kids to their activities so you can spend those 8 hours working on a new business idea that's going to enable you to make 6 times the amount that it's costing you to hire the nanny. A poor decision would be refusing to spend money on books or online courses because they're too expensive. Rich decision would be investing strategically in personal development books and courses which will enable you to generate a shit ton of income. Poor decision would be accepting the first job you were offered without ever questioning the salary. A rich decision would be negotiating a salary you are happy with before accepting a job and insisting on revisiting the salary annually with your boss. A poor decision would be being a martyr and constantly putting your children's, spouses, parents and friends' needs ahead of your own. And how many of us do this? Like I did this, for years. It's only this past year that I've stopped that. So a rich decision is realizing that when you put yourself first, you are in a much better position to take care of everyone else in your life. And you prioritize self-care and you realize it's not selfish, but it's necessary to function as the optimal version of yourself, and you put your own oxygen mask on first. So I know a lot of you might be thinking, but I can't afford to hire a nanny or a cleaner or have a meal delivery service. But my question to you is, can you afford not to? Really think about this, okay? I think people really have the wrong idea when it comes to hiring help. So many of my clients say things like, I would love to have a nanny or a cleaner, but I don't make enough money yet. So maybe when I'm rich, I can do that. But I used to think like this myself as well. But what I've realized over the past year is that this is actually the wrong way around. So you need to start outsourcing tasks like this now so you can become rich. So when you do this, it's going to give you the time you need, maybe to come up with a business idea or, to start a side hustle or whatever it is you're going to be doing to enable you to create your riches. So if your life is constantly filled with busy work, as I call it, then there's no time for creative thinking, which is going to lead to this wealth creation. So, and I think that's such a problem for so many of us. We're so busy, we don't have any free time, but you need to start freeing up some time to enable you to work on this, if that makes sense. So the bottom line here is that it costs money to make money initially, and you really have to be willing to have the faith in yourself to know that you're worth the investment. Now, I'm not saying you have to go crazy and outsource everything right away, because I know it is scary if you're not used to it. So I would say to start small and to pick one thing you dislike doing and to see if you can get some help with it. And it doesn't have to cost the earth. There's plenty of teenagers out there that would be willing to help with babysitting for an hour or two a week. And you can get a cleaner for maybe £10 an hour. Just do something small that is going to help you free up a little bit of time. And so when you freed up this time, it's really important that you have a plan in place for how you're going to use this time. So there's no point in doing this all if you're just going to sit and watch the Kardashians with that free time, although that would be good fun. So ask yourself, what are the poor decisions you are currently making in your life, and how can you replace these with rich decisions, whatever that means for you. Again, you don't have to use the examples I've given. There were just some things that I have implemented in my life just to give you some ideas. But just think about doing this and the impact that's going to have on your ability to create more wealth for yourself. So the next thing I'm going to recommend is to set a specific money goal and deadline. So we talked about this in the goal setting workshop. So all about setting your deadline for your goal and then working your way backwards and breaking your goal down into smaller steps. If you haven't seen this workshop yet, it's available on my YouTube channel. The link is in the Facebook group, which I think these are all part of. But let me know if you can't find it and I can send it to you. And if you're not a member of the Facebook group, I can add you to it as well. So even if you did attend the workshop or you've already watched it back, it might be worth revisiting it and just having this specific money goal in mind and then using the goal setting process for that. That should sort of help you keep you on track with that. So as I mentioned, I've read so many books on this topic of money mindset, so I'm going to give you some recommendations. These are also listed in your workbooks as well, as I know the last time you wanted me to write them down, so I thought that would be handy for you. So these are the ones I've read in the past year. So Paul McKenna, I Can Make You Rich. That is a brilliant book, probably one of my favourites. He has like a hypnosis track that goes along with that. Actually, I think it's available on YouTube for free. Even if you don't get that book, you can still listen to that. So I listen to that, not every night, but some nights I listen to it and I kind of like fall asleep. And it's all about, it hypnotizes you basically into, developing this like really positive attitude around money. So the next one is Rachel Rodgers, We Should All Be Millionaires. It's a brilliant book as well. Then there's Amanda Frances, Rich as Fuck. Denise Duffield Thomas, Get Rich Lucky Bitch. The classic Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. It's quite an old school book, and it is really good, but it's I don't know if it has like stood the test of time. There's a lot of kind of little slight racism and things like that in it, so I'll just be wary if you're going to read that one. It is a brilliant book, but it's just it was of its time. I think it was written in like the 1940s or something. Then there's Robert Kiyosaki and Sharon Lechter, Rich Dad Poor Dad. It's a really good one. And then another one is Rachel Richards, Passive Income, Aggressive Retirement. So it's more about different strategies for generating passive income if you're interested in that. So if any of these titles spark your interest, go and get yourselves a copy or download the audiobook and get started with it right away, because that's going to really reinforce everything we're talking about here and keep you motivated. And a lot of the content for this workshop has come from those books, like the ideas that I've gotten and stuff like that. So definitely worth looking into if you're interested. So in conclusion, as you can probably tell, I just love this topic. I could seriously talk about it all day. I have so much knowledge on it, and I continue to study this every day because I just find it so fascinating. I think the reason I love it so much is because, like as I said, the changes I've seen in my own income since working on my money mindset, and then the changes my clients have seen in their income, as a result of doing this work and me like coaching them through it. So I just think it's amazing. So I think as well, because money is like a physical and tangible thing, it means like we can actually measure it. And so it's easy to see, if this stuff actually works or not. So in contrast to this, in the last workshop I did, we talked about building your confidence. So something like that is a wee bit trickier to actually measure, like physically. So I think that's what makes like the money mindset work so fun. Like you can see the direct results in your bank account. So if you're interested in learning any more about this topic, as I said, I have so much content on it. I feel like I could write a book on it at this stage, so maybe my second book will be something related to this. But I found it really hard to condense it down into like a 1-hour workshop. So I'm thinking I would love to run like a more in-depth program about this, like maybe like a 6-week program or something, or like an online course teaching you the specifics of how you can double your income like I've been able to do. So if that is something that any of you would be interested in, you can let me know in the Q&A session, and we can like chat about it, because if there was enough interest, I would do something like that. So the other thing is I would love to